Hi, everyone. Uh, Thank you so much for joining us today. Today, I have a special topic, how to create impactful social media content. And I have two special guests to dive in and discuss stuff like content formats, why content fails on social media, how to build a content repurposing system without sacrificing quality, and practical content creation hacks. And I have with me today with me is Caity Barnes, freelancer social media strategist. Caity is a creative and strategic social media marketer with 8 years experience in social media, brand building, and content creation. Caity managed content for Volvo Trucks, that's how we met, Gaia Herbs, and Bridgestone Motorcycle Tires, but also managed clients from tourism, hospitality, agriculture, pet industry, and much more. Caity loves yoga and astrology, hiking, and coffee. So, welcome, Caity. How are you?
Hi, thank you so much for having me. I'm doing great. It's morning where I am in Raleigh, North Carolina, so I'm in the United States, and what a great way to start the day.
Cool. So it seems that someone, Sydney, it's you from Volvo Trucks it here, and they say hi. So if you have questions regarding the topic or have specific questions for Caity, you can ask us anytime, and we will dive into the subject once we feel that it's a fit, or we can address that question. So it seems that I'm pretty excited about this. It's this event is actually this live session is actually sold out. So in the last minute, Miruna got some questions that people couldn't register to this live session, but maybe we will find a solution to send the recording of this event. So Caity, let's start. And the first question that I have for you is, what's the biggest mistake you see brands are making with their social media content today?
Oh, that's a juicy question right off the bat. So a mistake I would say that I see brands making is only going by the playbooks of what they're seeing well with other brands. So I think for years we have seen this build up of this kind of chronically online voice. Kind of jaded social media manager building, and it worked really well when only a couple of brands were doing it, like Wendy's and Duolingo. But now I find it rather dystopian when I see a lot of brands doing that copy and pasted strategy. And so I think the at top level, the mistake that brands are making in that is really not forming their own original strategy, their own point of view. Having a purpose on social media and knowing that purpose is so important in the content creation process because you need to ensure that all of the content you're creating is laddering up to this bigger purpose. Social media is an extension of a brand. And so we want to ensure that it is really coming clear what your brand is on social media. And you're not just using the same playbook that somebody else created because that was their own unique world and they created it. And it just doesn't work for every brand.
Who does push this framework from, you mentioned Wendy's, you mentioned Duolingo. Why this push? Why um, they look at this framework and they want to apply to their audience, but they don't have the same audience? Who is pushing this framework?
Yeah. So I think the framework is because we're seeing, we see success, and especially see it on TikTok. You go into the TikTok comments and you see people, coming with this voice. They're almost pretending to be an intern, but we know that most social media managers have to nerd years of experience. We're not interns having the keys to the kingdom. And so I really think that it is, people trying to take that same formula and apply it to their own brand without putting strategy behind it. Does that answer
Yeah,
your question?
yeah, yeah, yeah. Um, how does the content creation workflow look like from idea to publication?
Oh, okay. So I think this one is a little bit different for everyone. So I would love to hear in the comments, especially if anybody in the chat wants to chime in, if they're working in-house for a brand or maybe they're on the agency side, because it's going to look a little bit different. But I will just kind of give a blanket example, and then if people have questions, we can cater to it. So I think when having an idea, first I want to think through how it's going to translate onto social and ensure that it is the right fit for the client that I'm thinking of. We see these trends and these ideas circulating around, and sometimes they're not right for the brand. So asking yourself questions when an idea comes to mind, like, what is this? What is the purpose of this? How does this fit into my content strategy? Is it going to entertain? Is it going to educate? Is it going to inspire somebody? Is it going to sell? Asking yourself these kinds of questions is really important to really fully understand and then articulate your own idea. And I'm not talking like we don't need to overcomplicate this, it just requires a little bit more effort. These kind of questions are also going to help you sell the idea. So if you have to run an idea by a manager or you need to pitch it to the client, asking yourself some of these questions of like, why would this make a good social post is really important. And the more practice you have, the simpler it gets. So once you kind of articulate the reason why, you can start formulating how we're going to create this piece of content. Is it something that you can execute on your own? Is it something that you need to bring in other people for? So let's say it's something I need to bring in Adina for. We're creating a social media post for Social Insider, and I want that expert level opinion and face to it. So what I would start doing is scripting exactly what I want to show up in the social media post. I wouldn't just include the script, the verbiage, but I would also include what these various shots are going to be. Is it going to be Adina speaking to the camera directly, or am I going to pull from archival footage like B-roll and have her do a voiceover? So asking these kind of questions, like what the structure is going to be, and then you really start building out. And then you can go ahead and execute that by filming. Some content ideas take a longer process. And then some of them you're going to be able to execute on the fly. It really just depends. And then figuring out when the best time to post is, maybe that is driven by data and insights. Maybe you're looking at a content calendar and saying, where can I fit this in? And then posting and learning from that post so you can formulate it all over again. I will say with my process right now as a freelancer, I've been focusing on a lot of batch content creation. So maybe going with a client for, thinking about a bunch of strategic ideas, concepts, planning those out, and then going to the client and working 3-4 hours to create these pieces of content, and then having 20 pieces of content to work with for the whole month. So really like planning these ideas is going to really help you build content and become more efficient, even though it's a little bit more effort in the beginning.
How can you integrate trends in this workflow? So it seems that there are some steps you mentioned here that it's important to understand that it's a fit with your brand. Then you have to think how can be executed in terms of how many resources are required to create this post, this content, and then you have to go to the execution part and publishing and approval publishing and stuff like that. But in if we are talking about trends, it seems that I don't know. You wake up and you seem that everyone is joining to a specific trend. How can social media managers push trends and be present in that platform? And we had some example in the past with trends that brands joined and just published a single text post, but they had the framework that give them the freedom to post that, actually to publish that.
Totally. And I think you make such a great point, Adina. Having that framework in place makes it so much simpler to execute the trends. And trends, we all know on this, if you're joining this call, you know that trends are important as part of a strategy. They really help with discovery and reach and plugging your brand into the conversation. But trends are not a one size fit all. So going back to the beginning, when you are first starting to work on a brand's social channels, it is so crucial to know what the strategy of that brand is. So then you can understand and ask yourself these questions. Okay, I see this trend is happening. Maybe it's a trending sound. I see this is how other brands or other creators are doing their other interpretation. How can my brand do a unique spin to make it make sense for the brand? And if it doesn't, if it's not going to make sense, don't try to squeeze into that trend because then it's not going to hit with your audience and they're going to be able to see right through it. I think there's nothing worse than a brand either being a week late to a
Yeah.
trend. It's like almost kind of cringy when
Yeah.
a brand like hops on a trend and you're like, wait, that was
Yeah.
like so long ago. And understanding, is it a trend or is it a formula that's becoming popular? Because there is a difference there too. And a formula that is becoming popular is a little bit more evergreen, right? But when it comes to the trend, just asking yourself those questions, remaining curious and open, but really understanding. And then I will say with trends, it's so important to, be part of that conversation early on. So having some examples to show your boss, to show your client, is a great way to kind of sell your idea and say, hey, this is happening, but we need to execute it in 24 hours. Do I have permission to take the reins and go do this? And remembering that, start getting comfortable with the idea of it being okay for a social post to be 60% perfect. Does not need to be 100% perfect all the time. And I think that really holds people up from getting to that point of execution. Is there, and I am a recovering perfectionist. And so I'm learning this myself. It doesn't need to be the perfect post all the time. Just get it out there.
Yeah, yeah. We have Lisa with us, who is asking us, what do you recommend to make internal teams and clients more agile in terms of jumping on a trend or moving quickly to capitalize on something timely or relevant?
Yeah, so that is definitely something that I have found challenging in the past. And I think it's be able to do as much pre-work as you're able to. Can you create a mock-up of this post in a timely manner with little effort so that it is more clear what you are trying to drive home? Having some of those answers really helps. I will also say that in the past, when I've been working with larger teams, we've tried things like almost thinking of it as like a newsroom. So, you're coming in like journalists would, and they're pitching a story on a Monday morning. And so we're all sitting around pitching our ideas and creating a really friendly environment. So no idea is a bad idea. And just kind of starting to get people involved with the process, but being really clear when you're pitching your own idea of what the trend is, and saying, this is only going to work if we are relevant and part of the conversation in this time. And I think it just takes practice. And it also, unfortunately, it's one of those things where, you know, I think executives are learning and understanding that they need to just give the trust to the social media manager, to the expert. But it might take a win or two to really prove that return. So, trying things, being okay if the post flops, great if the post wins, and then using that and building a case study from it. Maybe you are late to the trend one time, but you still go ahead and post. Maybe it doesn't do so well. You can take that to the decision makers and say, hey, here's the data from this post. I really think it would have been stronger if we had been more relevant in the conversation. Let's see how we can improve for next time.
I can share something from from another client that we have, Booking.com, and they also have a larger team, agency and in-house social media people. And Carla shared that they have a dedicated team for trends. And once the trend is approved on a higher level, um, they have that trend can go up to the calendar in that day at that hour. So maybe this helps to have some people in your team that are dedicated to trends, and they can stay online and be aware of what's trending right now. We have another question regarding how do you stay on top of trends, a part of being chronically online. I can share some sources here. There are so many newsletters, Facebook groups, people like Caity you can follow on LinkedIn, and you can get information about the trends. There's, I think, Pretty Little Marketer and Girls in Marketing. I think these are two communities that are sharing trends every week. So you can subscribe to their newsletters or be present in their LinkedIn community. Also, I know from our side that Miruna is adding also trends in our Glitch in the Metrics newsletter. So you can subscribe also to our newsletter. I have another question regarding regarding the repurposing content system. How can we approach the repurposing content on multiple channels?
Yeah, this is such a great question. So I believe the first time I heard it was from a former manager, Renee Tefalero. So she described it as, I'm Caity, I am a person, an individual, and I have one voice. But that voice is going to adapt in different settings. So I'm going to speak differently when I'm in a professional setting versus just chilling with my friends, versus in a new environment at a party, versus at the family dinner table. But I'm not changing as a person. Think about that when you think about your brand. Your brand, in essence, doesn't need to change, but you can change the tonality to fit the different platforms. We should all be repurposing content. So I'll just take this as an example. We're recording this webinar. So it's going to be 30, 40 minutes long. And say we package this up and create different clips. We can repurpose that and onto LinkedIn, and maybe we make a more long form summary. Then on YouTube Shorts, we're going to create a 90-second engaging clip. On TikTok, we might break that out into several clips. Same with Instagram. Maybe we post a carousel and then a reel. So thinking about just the different formats of the platforms, how we can create the content to adapt them, and then also really thinking about your audience and the channel purpose. We don't need to be on every single channel. Brands should really be thinking about what channels they should be on, but you should absolutely be repurposing your content for those channels. And then the last thing I will say, I'm like losing my thought. Oh, so not only with a fresh new piece of content should we be repurposing it, but go to your library of content from 6 months ago. There is social moves
Yeah.
so fast, so there is a chance you're not even half of your audience saw the original post. You can continue repurposing that same kind of content, repackaging it in a different way, try different formats, learn from them, and don't let one piece of content be just one piece of content. We've got to expand the life of it.
Yeah, I totally understand this because actually last year in the last part of 2024, we actually wrote two social media personas, one for Instagram and one for LinkedIn. And every piece of content that, even if we are talking about new content or repurposing older content, it has to address that persona. And now we are in the process of understanding not only the insights like what people prefer to watch or read on which platform, but insights of why they are what they are saying on Instagram, why they are following us on LinkedIn, and what kind of information or need they have in that moment, and we can solve with something with our content. So not only writing demographic insights or uh, let's say age, or if it's gender, stuff like that, go deeper and understand why they are on Instagram, and why they are watching you through stories, watch your stories, and why they are on LinkedIn. So every time we repurpose our content, we make sure that if it was a top post on LinkedIn and we want to repurpose on Instagram, it has to be tailored to the persona needs and persona pains that we have on Instagram. And maybe it helps with your content, with the repurposing content system. Um, if you could give one piece of advice to someone starting with social media content creation, what would it be?
Okay, there's so many. I think the top piece of advice I would give is just to play. Start playing with different ideas on a weekend. Grab a friend and start playing around with content creation. It doesn't need to be for this big brand from the start, but start practicing and understanding the content creation process. So you could also grab products from around your house. Take your favorite moisturizer or your favorite serum, maybe your favorite coffee, make a drink, and start playing in the editing platforms. I love CapCut. I think it's super simple to use. I have it on my desktop and my phone. Start playing with footage that already exists. And I tell myself this, especially when I'm learning new tools. When we're creating digitally, there's no risk. You can just click undo. So get in that habit of just practicing on the different platforms, playing around, treat it like a game if that helps you, and just start creating. If you have an idea, it's because it wants to come to life. And so the more you get in that habit of, okay, idea, execution, the faster you're going to get, and also more ideas are going to flow through you. It's a really magical experience. And so I would say play. A second piece of advice would be, instead of just mindlessly scrolling through Instagram, TikTok, start asking yourself questions about why a piece of content is something that you like. So same thing when you're kind of establishing your personal taste. in a piece of art or film. Why do you like this thing? So just start asking those questions. Is it that I like the format of this reel? Is it because they included an enticing hook? Is it because I'm familiar with this creator's background that made me stop? Start asking yourself those questions and getting in that habit, because that is going to make it really great for you to apply to your own content that you're creating.
Okay, so playfulness and start, I don't know, I think being curious and asking questions about what do you like, why do you think that post is getting traction in terms of engagement, in terms of comments, and so on. Okay, and the last question that I have for you is how could data and social media analytics tool help streamline the content creation process?
This is so important and one of the reasons why I love Social Insider. So data is, especially when you are a social media manager, I think we all know kind of the challenge of proving the return on investment. And so doing so with gathered data is so important. So really looking beyond just the numbers of something, looking at the watch time, looking how you retained that person, seeing what the saves were, seeing what the shares were. Oh, this got pushed to a lot of people because a lot of people were sharing it. It was a very shareable post. It applied, it was relatable. So really, again, with that curiosity, Cap, sorry to be repetitive in that, but like just asking yourself questions about the data at hand to then, and the key is to identify those like takeaways and suggestions, and then really apply those to your future learning. And also looking at what your competitors are doing. What is their space for? What are they doing well? Seeing what their content pillars are. That's one of my favorite features on Social Insider, is seeing the I couldn't explain, you can explain it better, but I guess with the artificial intelligence, it's predicting what the content topics and pillars are. And then it really helps with thinking outside of the box for applying other content pillars to yourself.
Yeah, so we last year we launched industry content pillars. Basically, for the industry you are working on, you get the content pillars, up to 20 content pillars that are used by that in specific industry, and you can see which one drives more engagement, which one drives more comments, and on a competitive level, you can understand which competitor is using specific content pillars and which competitors don't use those content pillars. So you can identify some content gaps in terms of, okay, I see that these competitors are pushing specific content pillars. Maybe you should go to the framework that you describe. You got an idea, and now you have to follow a framework to understand if it's a fit, and you can execute that idea. Yeah, thank you so much, Caity, for your time. If you have questions, last questions can be added here in the chat. Caity, where can people find you?
Yeah, so I am Caity Barnes on every social media platform. There's some different variations, like an underscore needed on TikTok, but Caity spelt with a C. And I would love to connect with fellow social media marketers or aspiring social media marketers, brand builders. So please feel free to connect on LinkedIn, and we can continue these conversations.
Great. Yes, this live session is recorded, and everyone will get the recording. I think tomorrow Miruna will send the email. We have a question from Rachel. Do you know of a good resource tool that you can use to monitor posts and articles? To monitor posts, I think Social Insider can help you if you add your competitive landscape. In terms of articles, I think listening tools are great here. If you have some recommendation, Caity, you can
Yeah,
add.
so as far as listening tools, Quid is a great social listening tool. I would say that is, in my tool belt alongside Social Insider. And looking at the conversations and just exploring and accumulating data from them. When it comes to, I would love to know what part of the like research process you're curious about. If you're able to expand a little, it might be able to help me answer the question.
Okay. And another question is about someone who is new. Ellie is new to strategy, and what you suggest for research tools.
Oh, I think I was already like jumping ahead to that question a little bit.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, when it comes to research tools, Quid is going to be great, as well as Social Insider. There is so many out there, but I also would just recommend, especially depending on what kind of like part of the research process you're interested in, newsletters, Facebook groups are a great place too to just keep your pulse on things. There's tons of trend predictors. I love Pinterest Predicts comes out annually. There's a few annual reports. Those are always great to go back to even throughout the year. But yeah, hopefully that helps. Definitely, I think that is Ellie. If you want to continue this conversation, feel free to chat me on LinkedIn so I can kind of understand exactly what you're looking for.
Yeah, and also I think there is a Facebook ads library, TikTok ads library, where you can get where you can do research in terms of advertising. So thank you so much. It was a great session, and thank you so much, Caity, for being with us and answering to all the questions that I have for you regarding the content process. And thank you so much, everyone, for joining us.
Yes, thank you for having me. This was so much fun.
Thank you. Have a great day, everyone. Bye.